Tonight on GC News, here's your latest on the recent protests.
The updates on the coronavirus.
And North Korea has cut off all communications with South Korea. GC News at 7 starts right now.
Live from GCW's Broadcasting Center in New York City, it's GC News.
Good evening and welcome to GC News at 7. I'm JohnnyZillion.
And I'm jonofdoom filling in for II Prime Line, and here are tonight's top stories.
The tragic killing of George Floyd has sparked a global movement in the United States and around the world. Yesterday, Floyd, known as Perry Floyd, to those who knew him best, was laid to rest in his hometown of Houston. It was an emotional funeral full of stories showcasing the best of Floyd from those who knew him the best. Afterwards, he was taken to his final resting place, with the final mile of his journey being done by a horse carriage. People came from all over to say goodbye to him, both yesterday and on Monday, during the public viewing. He is buried next to his mother. In the meantime, calls that demand real change grows by the day, with protests growing by the numbers across the world, from major cities like New York and London to smaller towns and villages. One call to action has grown, and that is to, quote, defund the police. In its simplest terms, that means taking away some money away from law enforcement and investing in other public interest ideas like schooling and healthcare. Some have even called for the police to be completely abolished. The president has said that he doesn't want the police to be abolished or defunded, while mayors across America are looking to defund. This story is a rapidly changing story, so we will continue to keep you updated.
As the current health crisis rages on in the rearview mirror, very few have thought about when it would be possible to reopen schools and on what conditions. One state, Rhode Island, is taking that step to reopen schools on August 31st. The governor announced this plan today in an effort to start thinking about what schools would look like. She said some states are already releasing plans for a different type of school year. Examples include more space between desks, mask wearing at all times, different groups go in and out on different times or on different days, more cleaning done, more buses operating as less people are on, and maybe even Saturday school. With no insight and uncertainty still going on, states and school districts across the country are trying to develop a plan to safely return their students to school.
The D.C. National Guard says that some of its members have tested positive for COVID-19 since it was mobilized to respond to the protest over George Floyd's death in Washington, but would not disclose how many had tested positive because of what a Guard official called, quote, operational security. As of June 1st, the entire D.C. National Guard, which is 3,400 members, had been activated to assist in the response to protests. Members of the National Guard from other states were brought into the capital as well, including South Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, Utah, and Indiana. Quote, National Guard personnel, our social distancing and use of PPE measures remained in place, were practical throughout the entire National Guard support to assist local and federal law enforcement responding to the civil unrest in the District of Columbia, the branch said in the statement. Quote, all guardsmen who are suspected to be at high risk of infection or have tested positive for COVID-19 during demobilization will not be released until risk of infection or illness has passed.
Asylum-seeking migrants locked up in an Arizona ICE detention center with one of the highest number of confirmed COVID-19 cases said they were being forced to clean the facility and are begging for protection from the virus. According to a letter, quote and unquote, this is a life or death situation, said a translation of their message dated May 18th and sent to the Florence Immigration and Refugees Rights Project, a legal advocacy group that has filed a lawsuit on behalf of migrants in the facility. ICE's official count says that as of June 7th, 78 detainees have tested positive at La Palma, with 14 cases currently under monitoring and 0 deaths. 2 migrants described being asked to clean the trash from a nurse's office where sick patients were treated. One said he was being asked to clean the feces-covered cell of a mentally ill detainee without gloves. The migrant said that after the kitchen closed due to COVID concerns in mid-May, they were served sandwich boxes that included 2 slices of rotten ham with bread. Quote, our clients have told us over and over again it's impossible to practice social distancing in detention since Laura Barros, an advocacy attorney with the Florence Project, which filed a lawsuit along with the ACLU and its Arizona division and the law firm Perkins Coie. Quote, it's impossible to maintain that 6 feet of distance when the telephone you're sitting on to talk to your lawyer is 1 to 3 feet away from the other guy on the phone. When you're in communal showers with 40 to 50 guys who touch the same door, that disease is going to spread like wildfire. The fact is, it has. And quote, the spokeswoman added that ICE has been following CDC guidelines related to COVID-19 and, quote, the healthcare, welfare, and safety, and, quote, of the detainees is, quote, one of the highest priorities of ICE, end quote.
And now let's get a look at your national weather.
And welcome back to GC News. The state of Georgia went to vote yesterday after delays caused by the coronavirus pushed it back. However, it was not off to a good start. In many polling places in counties like Fulton, DeKalb, and Greenwich, people reported polling places not being open or experiencing very long lines as poll workers dealt with broken new voting machines, not enough paper ballots as backup, and overall lack of poll workers altogether due to the coronavirus. The Georgia Secretary of State has launched an investigation calling the matter, quote-unquote, unacceptable. About three-quarters of those who called the Civil Rights Under Law group, a civil rights group, were African-American, according to an interview done by Kristen Clark, the president and CEO of the organization, to NBC News. As of writing, some primaries, like the Democratic Senate primary, were too close to call.
A declaration of President John F. Kennedy and the Lockerbie bombing has ended with the case unsolved, as investigators said Wednesday, and they were calling off the hunt for answers in the 1986 killing of then Prime Minister Olof Palme of Sweden. Swedish prosecutors attracted worldwide attention when they announced Wednesday that they would reveal the results of their investigation into the killing, which has fascinated Sweden for 34 years and became the subject of florid conspiracy theories. But those looking for answers were disappointed. The prosecutor's office said it was discontinuing the investigation because their main suspect, Stig Engström, killed himself in 2000. Palm was 59 when he was shot in the back on a busy Stockholm street while returning from a movie theater on February 28, 1986. Supporters credit him with forging the image of modern-day Sweden, still vaunted globally today for its progressive social policies. Some 90,000 people have worked on the murder case. It has generated countless conspiracy theories, with alleged suspects ranging from Kurdish militias to Indian arms dealers to South Africans angry about Palme's stance against apartheid. Quote, because that person is dead, I cannot bring charges against them, but decided to close the preliminary investigation, Prosecutor Kirster Peterson said at a briefing. Engström has become well known as a suspect in the case and was nicknamed the Skandia Mannen because he worked at the nearby Skandia insurance company. He was one of the first people at the scene and claimed he had attempted to resuscitate Palme, which policies he was known to strongly oppose. Stig Enstrom wasn't a focal point on the investigation, but we've looked at his background, and what we can see is that he was used to be employed by the Army and was a member of a shooting club, the prosecutor said. His movements on the night of the murder were, quote, consistent with how we believe the perpetrator had acted that evening, unquote, and he was known to have financial and alcohol problems, he said. Palme's wife, Lisbeth, was injured in the attack and later identified the shooter as Krister Peterson, an alcoholic and drug addict who was convicted of her husband's murder and died in 2004. The sentence was later overturned after police failed to produce any technical evidence against him, leaving the murder unsolved.
North Korea announced Tuesday it was axing all communications with South Korea, a move analysts believe could be an attempt to manufacture a crisis and force concessions from its neighbor. The decision carried further significance because it was attributed in part to Kim Yo-jong, the sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, who has risen in prominence in recent weeks. During a meeting, Kim Yo-jong and another senior North Korean official, Kim Yong-chol, described South Korea as, quote-unquote, the enemy. South Korea confirmed that Tuesday morning North Korea did not answer its military hotline for the first time since it was restored in 2018, according to a defense ministry spokeswoman. Later last week, Kim Yo-jong called the North Korean defectors who have fled to South Korea, quote, human scum and mongrel dogs, unquote, for flying propaganda leaflets back across the border. Communication lines between the two Koreas have been cut and restored again during previous periods of tension, and some believe that North Korea is deploying a similar tactic now. Quote, can North Korea continue to raise tensions to get the concessions it wants anytime soon? Unquote, tweeted Ramon Pacho Pardo, an associate professor at King College at London. South Korea, quote, isn't going to break the sanctions regime. Short and mid-range missile tests barely register these days, and ICM tests risk ending any hope of a deal with Trump, and quote, he added, referring to an intercontinental ballistic missile. He said North Korea, quote-unquote, isn't in a good place.
Painted in bright yellow letters outside the White House are the words, defund the police, a rallying cry for a movement to combat police brutality and racism that has exploded across the nation and caused nervousness amongst Democrats. As Trump seizes on the slogan to paint his opponents as radicals who envision the world of lawlessness and anarchy, Biden and most other Democrats are resisting the left's calls and floating more modest measures to curtail bad police behavior. Quote, no, I don't support defunding the police, Biden told CBS Evening News on Monday. I support conditioning federal aid to police based on whether or not they meet certain basic standards of decency and honorableness and, in fact, are able to demonstrate they can protect the community, end quote. Johnetta Elzie, a civil rights activist and organizer, said Biden's calls for quote-unquote reform sound stale, mealy-mouthed, and out of touch as, quote, black people are still dying behind these antiquated ideas and policies. People in power, politicians, and policymakers are still talking about reform. We're beyond that. We're over that, she said. If they wanted to reform, they would have done it 6 years ago when we actually had the chance to, but that's not what happened, end quote. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat of California, sidestepped, saying that police funding is, quote, a local matter and that our focus is to change policy and make our policing more just. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, a Democrat, was loudly booed and forced to retreat from a gathering of demonstrators Saturday after he responded to a question about whether he would commit to defunding the police by saying, quote, I do not support the full abolition of the police, end quote. When pressed to explain what the slogan means in policy terms, activists say defund the police is not actually a call for a country with no cops. As Trump rallies his base against calls to, quote, defund the police, and Biden distances himself from them, the movement is seen as unlikely to get its wishes. Yet it appears to be having an impact on the debates as some major cities like Los Angeles and New York discuss reductions in police funding.
Coming up, Honda puts manufacturing on hold over a computer disruption.
And NASCAR is set to ban the Confederate flag from all events. We'll be right back. Alright, welcome back to GC News. Honda is putting some of its manufacturing on hold while it deals with a, quote, disruption in its computer network, the company said Monday, prompting fears that it has been infected with ransomware. The company has canceled some production today and is, quote, currently assessing the situation, spokesperson Chris Abruzzi said in a statement Monday. He declined to elaborate whether Honda had been the victim of a cyber attack. Excuse me. We're getting some problems over here. All right, we're good. All right. Honda first noticed an issue Sunday, the company said in an earlier statement. Honda on Tuesday confirmed that it had been hit by a cyber attack and said that some plants in Ohio were still offline, but that it had, quote, resumed production in most plants, unquote. Some cybersecurity researchers believe the company was at least targeted by cyber criminals after they found evidence Monday of ransomware that had been customized to lock an internal Honda network until the victim paid for an encryption key. That code is designed to keep ransomware from spreading destructively from network to network. Like the infamous NotPetya and WannaCry ransomware strains of 2017. That ransomware belongs to a family referred to as Snake, which was used this year to infect the European medical giant Fresenius. That Honda that noticed the issue on Sunday is a further indication of ransomware, said Alan Liska, who tracks ransomware at the cybersecurity firm in Recorded Future. Quote, keep in mind most ransomware actors that hand-launch the ransomware, instead of automating the whole process, like to do so on weekends because they know there are usually fewer security people around, Liska said. Governments and major corporations have struggled to deal with the rise of, quote, big game hunting ransomware, where hacker gangs meticulously implant their malicious software on a corporate target that might be susceptible to significant extortion.
Breaking news from the sports world, NASCAR is banning the Confederate flag from its races. In a statement, NASCAR said, quote, bringing people together around a love for racing and the community that it creates is what makes our fans and sports special. The display of the Confederate flag will be prohibited from all NASCAR events and properties, end quote. It comes after Bubba Wallace, the first African-American driver in a Cup Series, asked NASCAR to go a step further and ban the flag in the aftermath of the recent developments across America.
Sports are making a slow return, and association football is making a return all around the world, or soccer for the Americas. The MLS is just one of many soccer leagues making a return. They announced that they will conduct a tournament called, quote, MLS is back, with 26 teams, 6 groups, and the winner gets to compete at the CONCACAF Champions League. It will take place from July 8th to August 11th at the ESPN Wild Water Sports Complex at Walt Disney World in Orlando.
After being postponed due to current events on the BLM movement, Sony is finally holding their PS5 event live on Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern. This event is set to reveal the exclusive and non-exclusive games coming to the PS5, which will be released around the holiday season. Jim Ryan, CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, said in the blog post, quote, what is the launch about games, end quote. Live stream said to be streamed at 1080p resolution. Many people have been taking to the social media platforms, guessing to what games may be revealed tomorrow.
Okay, we're reaching the end of the episode. However, we are having some time issues, so we're going to merge some things together. We're going to merge the table talk with the day-to-days. Now, Kirk Jeremy cannot be here as, I don't know, I think he's dealing with rain, just like Prime. But anyways, I'm going to have to take over for the whole holiday thing. So, June 10th, 2020. So, we have daily holidays, such as we have Alcoholics Anonymous Day, Ballpoint Pen Day, Herbs and Spices Day, National Black Cow Day, National Iced Tea Day, weekly holidays, Bed Bug Awareness Week, Canadian Environment Week, and Mountaintop Removal Week, Exhibitor Appreciation Week, International Clothesline Week, and more that I cannot explain in a full thing. And coming up with celebrity birthdays, actress Alexandra Stewart, 81. Actor Ben Daniels, 56. Americana musician Bridget Kearney, 35 to today. Football Hall of Famer Dan Fouts, 69. Model actress Elizabeth Hurley, 55. Attorney F. Lee Bailey, 87, who was most notoriously featured on the O.J. Simpson trial. Ha ha, how fun. Rhythm and blues singer Faith Evans, 47. Actor Frankie Faison, 71. Actress Gina Gershon, 58. Rock musician Ginny Chamberlain, 56. Jürgen Prochnow, 79. Kate Flannery, 56. who's an actor. Rock musician Kim Deal is 59. Lee Bryce, 41. All right, Britain's Prince Philip, 99. Congratulations to him, and hopefully he makes it to 100 next year. Actress Trisha Mays is 30. There's more birthdays that I can't really talk about, but now. Okay, I think that's it. Oh, yeah.
All right.
Just getting a word from the producers. Yeah, okay, so we just wanted, he told me to talk about Prime's situation currently. He is currently suffering under tornado watch in Ohio. We are unsure of the severity of the problem, but we pray for Prime Lion and what comes towards him. We send you the best of love, and we hope for good luck in the situation. With that in mind, I think we have some more time on the clock. Yeah,
tornadoes are no joke. I'll say it right now. Living in Tornado Alley, you can never know. I was literally one night I was watching the news and they broke in 4 tornadoes. It was like coming right towards me.
Right. I mean, living in Philadelphia, myself, I don't really experience tornadoes as much because I don't live in that sort of region. However, I do get, heavy rain sometimes. I mean, sometimes tropical storms will come in. I just get, sweeping rain. I mean, storm of the century sometimes because you get, feet of rain. I get, a foot of rain sometimes in, July. But, I mean, that depends on, what happens. I mean, I think rain's coming over. But anyways, that's the news for now. Tune in tomorrow night at 7 again for more GC News. For John of Doom, Prime Lion out there, and the rest of our team, I'm JohnnyZillion. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.
Good night, everyone. Take care.